being breathless, being scared and unable to breathe properly, being unable to breathe properly and being scared. This is a problem a lot of people have. And I've got a very dear client who is 80, and she is just coming into a really, really breathless stage of her unraveling. So I want to put this video together to help her, but also to help other people who are in this state, because I was there when I was 34, so I'm 46 now. I was completely breathless, unable to walk on the flat, unable to walk up hills, and I lived on a hill, which was highly unfortunate, in a 2-story house, and I couldn't breathe. And I thought it was kind of normal, and I thought it was just part of aging or getting into my 30s, and it's not. It's also not part of getting into your 80s, I don't think it should be. So I'm Julie. I've been doing this, dedicated to this for 17 years, studying how the being functions as a whole. So there's no separation. It was through Kahuna training that I started this dedicated pathway, but I do not carry Kahuna as an identity, and I do not refer to my teachers, because the underlying factor of our training was that it all comes back to you. So it is people learning how to feel themselves and know what to do with what they can feel. Know that it's all okay. It's just a message. So it doesn't matter whether it's physical, emotional, spiritual, or psychological. We have to be okay feeling what it is. The beautiful thing about all the energies, they create the physical, and so they create a response in the physical, which is where your power really lies. And I believe that if we don't release the response in the physical, then we can do amazing work with our mind and learning to control our emotions and learning to regulate things. But what happens is the density of our body, which is not a bad thing, and it's another issue I'll get into, but the density will actually, of where we've got tension, I should say, the density of where we're holding tension is going to anchor us back always. And it may express the same, it may not. So breathlessness needs to be fully accepted, and the speed of your breath needs to be allowed to happen. And that means we have to be okay resting in a really scary place. What happens when we layer a physical tension? So as I said, it doesn't matter where it's caused from. When we layer a physical tension into our body and it becomes a subconscious or habitual, constantly locked on, doesn't let go, muscle contraction, physical tension, then that restricts how the breath moves through the body. When we direct our breath, when we count it, slow it down, speed it up, make it perform a certain way, we're actually undermining our nervous system, which puts us in a very precarious survival situation. So we're kind of saying to our nervous system, you don't know what you're doing, I know better, and this is what we're going to do. And so the nervous system is what's capable of understanding the connection between the muscle tensions and the speed of your breath. And the speed of your breath needs to be relevant to feeding and energizing the muscle tensions that are holding on. And the safety comes from accepting the speed of the breath, which is feeding the muscle tensions which are holding on, and letting it happen in a position, which I'm going to show you, where your physical nervous system, the proprioceptors and the receivers of information in your body, can recognize you're not going to fall over. So each tension contracts bones, pulls them out of alignment with gravity. So where we've got our shoulders up and back, which we're all taught to do, and we're putting our chest forward and we're tucking everything in, that actually tips us into a forward fall. And so when we're in a forward fall, the nervous system has to lock down other muscles to keep us upright. So there's another layer of tension, because the first one's not letting go, the other one has to be repetitive until it becomes habitual, and then that's going to exhaust, or it's going to start pulling us the opposite direction, and so then another one will come on. So this is really beautiful, because this is where your power lies, finding safety and then learning how to observe your breath without judgment. So there are a couple of positions I'm going to show you which will take the pressure off your nervous system. So I really liken it to untangling a ribbon. We need to bring the ends of muscles, as many muscles as possible, we need to bring them towards each other, so that instead of a muscle being pulled tight because we're lying flat, everything's had the pressure taken off it, and it's all able to kind of become juicy and technically untangle, just like you'd release the ends of a ribbon, untangle the knot, and then pull the ends of the ribbon out again. So it's releasing the pressure, letting it all happen. The thing that does the untangling is actually your breath. And so when we're really, really breathless, we need to find that space where we feel like we've dropped into the ground further. And then it's the speed of the breath working in that safe space where the pressure's taken off, which is almost what's going to massage from the inside out the tensions out of the tissues so that they can release, which allows for a deeper breath and the breath to move more fully through your body. So Orlando is helping me by being right in my way, but what I'm going to show you first of all is the really simple stack of towels. You can do this with a bolster, but if you're feeling really breathless, you want gentle, so you don't want to, please relax, you don't want to be lifted too high to give yourself too much space to drop into. So this is going to be our highest step that will sit between the shoulder blades. So the lower ribs down to the pelvis are hammocking, are going to want to hammock. So that allows for the diaphragm to come back down into alignment and move freer. So we put one small step there, and then we get another folded towel step, that's going to sit. So if this is kind of shoulder blades, this is going to sit like high back. And then we're going to get another towel, which is going to have the back of our skull on it. So we're really supported, but we're supported in a way that the lower back can hammock and lengthen, and the lower ribs can drop back, allowing for the diaphragm to move freely. We've supported our upper ribs, but then we've left space between the skull and this towel where the neck can do exactly what the lower back is going to do. The tissues of the neck can release, and we can hammock into this space, which does two things. It releases the pressure off the back of your head, but it also drops the ribs from this upright posture. It drops the ribs back, allowing the lower ribs to wing towards the lower back, allowing the lower back to lengthen. So there's no answer here, and this is the hardest thing. There is no correct posture for you to learn to do. You have to learn to feel the posture that you've got, and then feel the posture that you've got when you're standing up, when you're walking around, and find this release when you are upright. So to do that standing upright would mean you would just simply fall over. Your nervous system is not going to allow you to release these tensions or whatever tensions you've got, because you will simply fall over as you hit the tensions that are underneath that layer. So I'm going to have to shift dear sweet Orlando, which may or may not go okay. I'm going to say probably not. Hey, little pup. Little pup. We just scoot you back here. We just scoot you back. Oh. There go rainbow chin. Perfect. Always put a belt around the upper the thighs, and have your legs bent with your feet flat on the floor. It's very unhelpful. I hope you can see across her. or have a good roll under your knees, a good pillow under your knees to bend this up. So the tangled string we want to unravel runs from, let me get the picture. The tangled string we want to unravel is the psoas, which runs from the lower ribs down to the inner thigh. Now, when we are stretched out straight, when we are standing up, this is what pulls the lower back bones forward, giving us that deep curve in the back, as one of the expressions of this. And it is what turns the feet out because it's pulling on the inner thigh, so it's rotating the thigh bones outwards. So when we have our knees bent with the belt around the legs, then, and we have our ribs lifted, it's putting the ends of this tangled string together, so it's taking the pull off them. So this muscle, this tissue, I should say, can become juicy and soft and then lengthen. And remember, it's the breath that massages it from the inside out. So I'm just going to check that you can see over Miss Pie Pie there. No, stay there. Oh, okay, come out then. You could probably see. Okay. So, when you put the belt on, and this is really important because if you don't put the belt on, what will happen is, because you've got that, most people have an outward turn of their thigh bones. Because that's happening, it's pulling the legs out. And so because this is habitually tight, it doesn't let go. When you put the belt on, it means your legs rest in the belt, they don't go any further. That means you don't have to hold them up. So this is not weakness, this is respect of the state that your body's in. Now, then you get in here with all the things. Where's my thing? Okay, so you can see I've got it shoulder blades. There's space from my lower ribs down to my pelvis. Underneath my lower ribs there's space. Get yourself lined up so your pelvis, bony parts are parallel, knees and heels, and check in. Do you feel supported up here? Yes. Do you have space for your neck to lengthen? Yes. Right, so this is our starting position. I like to have hands up on the hips because the ribs coming up and the constant bending of our elbows has caused a tightening through the bicep, which pulls the shoulder forward. So I'll show you what that looks like. So I've got this here, and my left shoulder is my better shoulder. So if I take this out, it's pulling here, pull it back up. So you've got that movement, which is compromising the space in the joint and the elbow everywhere. Okay, so now you're in this position where everything is supported. This is where your nervous system can start to feel safe, and all you've got to do is let your breath move at the speed it wants to move at. And if you're at a level like my dear client is at the moment, where you are kind of, it's almost like you hit a plateau where something major happened, you don't need to know what it is, but what you need to allow for is safety and the breath to move, rise and fall. Memories might come up, emotions might come up, and you just let things float. Now, if you are having a traumatic release or something dramatic is happening, you are not releasing. You're actually becoming tighter and you're fighting up against what's happening, and it's all very intense and it feels like something major is happening. And then when that exhausts itself and you start to come back down, you will only go as far as where you started. You will probably not even go that far because of the intensity of that release. So I'm not pushing a situation where you feel like you're going to be overwhelmed. And when you're working with your nervous system, with this understanding of your nervous system that you learn with Maya movement, you won't overwhelm yourself. Your nervous system actually won't allow it. And so you'll softly move through these unravelings, sometimes without even knowing what they're linked to. Sometimes they'll come up and you're like, oh, that's where that came from. And you'll remember it and you'll be like, oh yeah, that's horrible, but there's no drama associated with it. So when you are in this position, you leave yourself alone. And what the idea is, I feel, sorry, crooked. What the idea is when you're breathing short and fast, your nervous system feels safe because you're not interrupting it and you're not directing your breath at all. Like, you have to not be directing your breath at all, because otherwise your nervous system's feeling undermined and like it's wrong and it's not doing its job properly. And look, the sad fact is our mind is not capable of doing the job our nervous system should be doing, and we are using our mind too much for that. Now, a thoughtless breath is blissful. When the lungs fill, it pushes all of the skin out everywhere. Soles of the feet, underneath the pelvis, underneath the lower back, underneath the back of the ribs. All of the soft tissues, the fluids balloon out like you're inflating a balloon. That lifts the bones. So that bones are like a surfboard sitting on the ocean. The swell goes under it and the surfboard goes up, right? Then the swell moves on and the surfboard drops down. So the inhale, the bones are being lifted from the back of the body. They are not rising, they are not being pushed forward. The inhale lifts the bones, and then when the body exhales, it's simply the weight of the body dropping into the softened tissues underneath the bones, squeezing all of the fluids out, which empties the lungs. There is an initial drop, so we inhale, we inflate, and it lifts the rib cage, and then when we exhale, there's a drop. The drop is followed by a draining as the emptying of the lungs just completes, because the direction of air has changed, until the lungs are completely empty, and then it's a vacuum. There is space has been made. What does the universe do with that? This is law of attraction stuff. The universe fills the space. There is no breathlessness when this is happening. And it doesn't matter how fast your breath is going, there is no breathlessness. If you're feeling breathless, it's because you are still holding on. And when we stand up, automatically things start holding on. So if when you're up and about moving and you start to feel breathless and you can't settle it, come here first. If you're used to taking a puffer, but you think you can get down into this position and settle yourself before you take a puffer, put your puffer here. Do this first. Feel what's happening in your body, which is holding your diaphragm in a place where it can't move. And then give yourself that moment of knowing you are safe here, observing your short, fast breath, letting it be short, fast. Now, this has been my go-to for many, many years, but recently I've worked with a few people who needed something a little bit more obvious. And now, what the problem is we're so used to pushing ourselves forward and fighting our way through life that dropping back into the space can seem absolutely massive. So what I've been getting them to do is the opposite. So I'm going to show you that now, because it's about feeling safe. You have to do this with respect to your neck. So I can get my neck on the side, on the floor. Okay, now I've got lots of yoga things there. Sorry, I've been cleaning my house today. My legs would normally go up and over a pillow at the ankles. Okay, a decent pillow. You want your knees to be bent and to take that pull off the back of the legs. You are asking a lot through your groin by lying flat on your face. If that's too uncomfortable, you put another towel under your groin. So I'll show you just the ribs. So for me, as I said, I can lie straight down. Now, you want it under the breast tissue. So you want to get it onto the rib bones, under the breast tissue, so you're not squashing your breast tissues. I think this is the same for men. And then hands somewhere comfortable. Head on the side, doesn't matter which side, and realistically swap it. And what this is doing is, it's kind of, it's stressful. This is more stressful to me, but it really pushes those lower ribs back into alignment. It really pushes the breath into the back of the body. And as you rest here and you let it be short and fast, it shifts. Now I've seen this shift a really major locked diaphragm and rib cage and breath, like really stuck breath control, and it was the catalyst for his change. He's in mid-30s, I think, and he's great. He's so cool. He's doing it all himself, you know. Now, if this is too much through the sacrum and you feel like you're being pulled through here, so you're kind of still being pulled into this position, which is a thing, you take another towel and you put it under so that it's supporting a little bend. So you're not up in the air. Now you've got a bend, but you're actually resting on something, so your nervous system feels safer. Still get that in under the ribs. And then you've got a little more support to make yourself feel safe. If you cannot get your head on the side, you can do this, which I don't like, but I like a little towel. Have it near the back of the jaw so that the front of your face can angle towards the floor or towards the firm surface that you're on. And then your head's not so on the side. At this stage, it does not matter whether you're breathing through your nose or your mouth. When we come into that breathless state and our ribs thrust forward and our nervous system goes into panic, one of the other things that happens is the back of the neck shortens, the chin gets pushed out. That compromises the way the nasal passages and pathways and all those tubes is sitting. The bones of your skull can be moved and squeezed, and it puts pressure on those and adjusts the actual nasal passages. So if what's happening is causing this to happen, then this is a release which is going to allow your nervous system to feel safer. And then you can let it go. So those are my two go-tos. I'll put shorter videos up where it's just setting yourself up in this position. I've got videos up which is setting yourself up in the supported rest position. So I'll just finish up with the things I had to deal with Oh, sorry. When it came to breathlessness, so my story, starts as a childhood asthma. And then there was a time in my life when I was about 8 or 9 years old where I had to share a room with my 2 sisters. And I'm the middle child, say no more. But what would happen every night when we would go to bed, or maybe every night, but is they would complain that they could hear me breathing and that I was keeping them awake. And they would get very, very vocal about this. And I would be lying in my bed. I'd be lying in my bed, probably had a little pillow, and I'd be like this. And I was only breathing literally in a point on my chest. And I was trying not to be heard, and I was trying to be quiet. And I would breathe like this. Like this is the only point moving. And over the repetition of these situations and these nights, I developed the lock of tension around that point. Now, you can go, well, that's an emotional one and you need to deal with what happened with your sisters. No, I don't. That's what caused the physical lock. I need to deal with the physical lock. And this is where trauma and understanding how these things lock up in our body comes from feeling the physical body. This is where the power is. I don't think any of these situations should be lingering, and once you have this understanding, I don't think they will be. But you have to be prepared to feel the breathlessness, which is why we put you in a safe position. So I had been doing this work and learning how to observe my breath without judgment and let my breath move through my body freely and thoughtlessly for about 8 years. Okay, and I had, as I said, at 34, I couldn't even walk on the flat without getting puffed. So at about 38 years old, I got to this point where I was really breathless and I couldn't breathe. And it was here, I could feel it here. And I'm like, what is going on? Am I sick? What's happening? And how it works is each time you peel off a layer of tension and you expose the tension beneath it, then you feel the breath of that area of tension. So if you were to turn your attention to your probably your lower back at the moment, some of your stomach, and actually pay attention to that area, just what does it feel like? Is it rising and falling? No. Am I making it rise and fall? Maybe. Yes, sure. But as soon as you turn your attention to just observing an area, you will feel the breath that exists there. And so I was feeling, because I peeled off all these layers of tension and I got back down to my 8-year-old little girl self. So here's some beautiful inner child work. I got back down to my little beautiful 8-year-old inner child self. I felt my breath. So how did I deal with that? Because I'd released so much already and I had so many experiences of reaching breathlessness and then being okay with it and letting myself drop onto the ground. So what we're doing on the ground onto our back is exactly what we do up here. We have to drop back. Then as soon as I kind of was starting to feel that and I kind of registered what was going on, I was like, I need to let that go. Because if you don't let the exhale go, if you don't let the body drop onto the ground when you exhale, the inhale can't happen. The inhale requires force and control to happen. So there was that major experience. The other major experience I had was I was getting a body work one day with hot stones. And so the way we did our hot stones was you'd give the body a full body massage on the back, and then you would layer towels, place hot stones on the back of the body where they were called to, and then you'd leave the room and you'd leave them for 5-10 minutes. So they had their alone time. It was very dreamy and beautiful. And one day I was having one of them, and just as the therapist was about to come back into the room, I just remember, because I'm face down on the massage table, I just remember going, I'm like, what was that? And I was like, I wasn't breathing. I was not breathing. I had got to that point of release where all of the tensions had gone, but all of the controls had also been let go. Because the controls become habitual. We don't know we're counting our breath. We don't know we're pushing it in certain directions. They become habitual. They're still physical controls, but they're mentally, they're there as well. Because there is no separation. It goes in every direction, feeds in and out, mind, body. There is no separation. This is your mind. Everything here, nerve endings, it's all your mind. And so I had stopped breathing. And as I inhaled this massive breath, I remember thinking, you have to leave it alone. Do not touch it. And this was not the only time I realized I wasn't breathing. I was like, do not touch your breath. And so I huffed and puffed, and I was letting the breath be short and fast as it released and softened and moved through my body, through areas it hadn't moved through probably since before I was born, because I believe these tensions are what our consciousness, our spirit, our soul, our little being molds into our physical body before we come here. So it molds it in, it puts tension in certain areas. These are linked to where the planets lie when you're conceived or born. But these tensions hold the vibration and the memories or the energies of something we want to learn when we're here. And this observation and understanding of your body allows you